pretty shocking, really, isn't it? The idea that worrying about something is the same as praying for it to happen. Normally, when we think about praying, we think about getting down on our knees and going, "Oh, please, God, let this thing happen." And it's not like when we're worrying about something, we're going, "Please, God, let this thing happen." But the dynamic is the same. And the dynamic is to do with, we live in an attractive universe. Not so much like it's beautiful. I mean, it is beautiful. Of course it's beautiful. But not that kind of attractive. The sort of attractive that's to do with what we think about consistently with a lot of intense emotion. We do kind of pull it towards us. There was a very famous tree in the middle of a desert. It was there for, hundreds of years. And somebody ran into it. There was nothing else around for miles, for years. Somebody crashed into it. Now, I think that's a really good example of how it works. I'm not saying the person was driving along going, "Don't crash into the tree, don't crash into the tree." But I mean, what are the chances of crashing into that tree? Pretty slim. And yet this person managed to do it. And we are a little bit like that. Like the other way I think about it is, you fall overboard, you're splashing around, you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna drown, I don't want to drown, I don't want to drown." Somebody throws you one of those life ring things, and you're sort of splashing towards it going, "I don't want to drown, I don't want to drown." And the more you do that, the more you push it away, the more your splashing pushes it away. And it's kind of the same, worrying about what we don't want. Or worrying is this, we're kind of focused on it, we're like, "Oh," because apparently our subconscious doesn't register the subtle nuances of the way we think. It's like the thing about, if you say, "Oh, don't forget to bring that home," or "I mustn't forget to bring that home." It's like our mind, our subconscious doesn't hear the don't. And all it hears is, "Forget to bring that home." And that's why it's kind of, I'm not so sure exactly how, true this is, but it's certainly been true in my experience. So I'm very careful not to kind of think like in terms of, the thing I want with the don't in front of it. I always think of it in terms of like, remember, I must remember to do this, rather than I mustn't forget to do this, because I kind of know my mind doesn't hear the mustn't. It just hears, "Yeah, forget to do that now." But then on another level, deeper level, worrying is a loop. If you've ever been worried about something, you know the way it goes. You kind of go, your mind is trying to protect you. It's trying to come up with all the solutions to the problem. And you're like, "Oh yeah, I'll do that, and then I'll do that, I'll do that." And you go all the way around the clock face. And eventually you're back where you started. And then it just goes around again. And you're just turning it over and turning it over and turning it over. And that's a little bit like, Dune is kind of popular at the moment. The way they attract the sandworms is through movement. They walk on the sand, and that attracts the sandworms. And if they want to try and ride one of the sandworms, they put one of these thumpers in, and it's like dum dum dum. I don't know how they're handling that in the new movies. I just know from reading the books. But anyway, the thumping is a little bit like, our worrying is a little bit like the thumping, because we're focused on this thing. Like, "Oh, I don't want that to happen. I don't want this thing to happen." So we like dump, dump, dump. We're thumping away. And of course, we're attracting the thing we want to happen. And it's not personal. It's a neutral field. And it kind of will just give us whatever we focus on with a lot of intensity and a lot of emotion. So if we're very high emotion, like, well, then that's the thing we're going to draw to us. I don't know why it's like this, but it just seems to be the case. And that's why it's not just Pollyanna to like think positively. It's like just understanding the mechanics of how the whole thing works. Of like, I'm not gonna focus too much on the thing. I'm not going to let myself worry. It's not great for your mental health, obviously, but it brings the thing. It brings the thing I'm worried about. And that's pants, you know, we don't want to do that. So yeah, we live in an attractive universe. It's lovely, but it's based on attraction, and it like attracts like. So if we have this thing that we're worried about, we're bringing it towards us. So just from a very practical point of view, yeah, it's kind of makes sense not to do that. Makes sense to steer my little boat of thoughts, steer it in the direction of the future I want, not the future I don't want.